Now, a big question is, how can I make Premiere Pro run better on my machine? Well, understanding how Premiere Pro uses the resources in your machine will give you a head start. The first thing you might have heard is something called the Mercury Playback Engine. And that sounds very confusing. It's like, is that a physical object? And the truth is no. The Mercury Playback Engine is actually a combination of several items in your computer. It's a combination of how Premiere Pro uses the RAM that you have, the processor or processors that are in your system, as well as the video card. Now, let's take a look at the system I'm working on. Now, we're on a Mac, so I can find out the details about my system under About This Mac. You can find out similar information on your PC. And the first thing I want to look at is memory. Now, this system has 8 gigabytes of memory. That's okay, but the more memory you have, the more memory Premiere will take advantage of. And that's one essential part of the Mercury Playback Engine. It loves memory, and unlike older software, which usually had an upper limit of using only 4 gigabytes of RAM, the more RAM you throw at it, the more RAM it will use. So you can put an 8, 16, 32, 64, even up to 192 gigabytes of RAM, and it will leverage that. Now, personally, I think investing in 192 gigabytes of RAM might be a little excessive, but I like to use 12 or 16 gigabytes of RAM, and some machines come direct from the factory with 32 gigabytes of RAM installed. In this case, more is better. The next thing to keep in mind are the processors. Now, you can have dual-core processors and quad-core processors and multiple of these processors. The more processors you have, and the faster these processors run, the more robust performance you'll get out of Premiere Pro. The third part of the equation is your video graphics card. Over time, these cards have gotten faster, and they have their own memory installed. You may hear the term GPU, or Graphics Processor Unit, to determine the speed of the card, and since each of these cards has memory, it may be 512 megabytes or a gigabyte or 2 gigabytes. The more RAM that the video card has, and the faster it is, the more real-time playback you're going to get from your machine. So how can you leverage this knowledge to make your current machine faster? Well, the first thing you can do is add more RAM. If you can swap out from, say, 8 to 16, you'll see a performance increase right there. You can also swap out the video card in many desktops and some laptops, and again, the faster the video card, the more responsive the application is going to be. Of course, a brand new computer is always going to be faster, but these are some ways that you can get some more mileage out of your current systems.